G'day all, it's Scott, and we've just checked into Prague, but this morning we left Chemnitz with some sunny skies. We had a fairly strong thunderstorm the night before. Our bikes did get wet, but nevertheless we left with some sunny skies around 7 a.m. and headed towards Schloss Colditz, which is the Colditz Castle. It's famous for a number of reasons. One of them was that it housed the most high-risk escape prisoners from the British, French armies, and they were held in the Colditz Castle between 1939 and 1945. So we headed from Chemnitz up to Colditz Castle, and we arrived there early, and basically we had breakfast at an outdoor cafe, and then proceeded to go up to the Colditz Castle for a tour that started at 10:30 and it lasted for 2 hours. So here are a number of photos and videos of that day.
Day 3 of our European tour with Scott and Richard. The highlight of today's tour was the Colditz Castle, and we spent the night just outside of Colditz and took a short ride up there. Before we go on, though, there's going to be a little introduction to show you the route that we took. The route was back roads up to the castle, over to Dresden, and then it was pretty well freeway from there down into Prague.
It's a beautiful square. The Colditz is very nice. Just love the German architecture. And this is where we had breakfast. And the Colditz Castle is right up there. Oh, this is the gates to Colditz Castle. Between 1939 and 1945, this was a prisoner of war camp called Uflag 4C, and housed mostly British, Canadian, Polish and French officers who basically were high-risk escapees, and apparently it was touted as an escape-proof prison, but at least 30 people had succeeded in escaping the high fences and the barbed wire and the numerous guards and searchlights that surrounded this place. So I think we'll just walk in and see what's up. So this is the inner courtyard. Right now it's supposed to house people who have ear infections, so it's a hospital. You can also see there's a sign pointing out as a youth hostel too. So I think this leads to an area down in the basement where apparently they went through some euthanasia.
1 at 11:30.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. So what we see here is a memorial to the victims of National Socialist euthanasia killings in 1938-39. So that was the German Nazi movement to basically eradicate any undesirables before the Second World War started. Okay, so these folks are actually part of a scooter rally that they came from England. And Where are they heading off to there, Richard? Do you know?
It's an international lamb, I don't know what the brand is,
Yeah.
rally in Poland.
In Poland. Okay, they're heading off to Poland. Yeah. So I've explained to you that over 30 prisoners were successful, but there were 300 attempts that were made throughout the prisoner of wars being housed at Colditz Castle. And one of the more interesting stories was this fellow by the name of Willie. He actually was an electrician there, and everyone knew him. And one of the guards basically would admit to him all the time, and he would give him a tag. One of the British prisoners who looked quite a bit like him decided to disguise himself somewhat like Willie, and you can see on the left-hand side, that is the fellow who basically tried to pass himself off as the German electrician to basically escape from Colditz Castle. Unfortunately, it didn't work. He was caught and basically recaptured and sent back. Of course, the most famous fictionalized escape attempt was the Colditz glider. They made a movie of it. It essentially had the British officers design a glider, which they stored in a false wall, which they would launch on the ridgepole of the castle, launched by a bathtub full of concrete, so that they could gain enough speed to basically glide off the roof of the castle and escape the perimeter of the prison. Unfortunately, it was never really tried out. The American Allies had basically liberated the camp on April the 16th, 1945, and there was only one photograph that was ever taken. This is actually a replica of what you're seeing. It was done as a documentary in 2012 to see, in fact, if such a glider could actually be built, constructed, and in the right wind conditions, whether it would actually make it off the roof and into freedom. I'll leave the actual final conclusion to you. You'll have to search it out and find out whether or not the glider actually managed to fly over the castle.